So welcome everyone. This is the head of delegation or acronym friendly or unfriendly Special Olympics, the HOD pre-games webinar for Winter Games. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to join us this evening. Those of you who may not know me, I think most people do, but I'm Steve Bennett, the Senior Director of Competition at the state office. We also have Mike Sarnowski on the call, our Vice President of Sports, Melissa Anger, our Senior Sports Director, and we have Jane Dunn from our games management team, as well as Neil Coffey will be joining us, our Director of Winter Games. So again, we appreciate you joining. As you saw, this webinar is being recorded. We'll post that to the coaches resource page along with the slide decks and send those out to everyone as well. If you have any questions, you can put those in the chat. We do have several people monitoring that throughout the evening, and they will stop me if it's something pertinent or maybe address you directly. So tonight we're just going to go through a few things, some updates and reminders, some general schedules of the Winter Games, some layouts, talk about the HOD or head of delegation meetings during Winter Games, some registration information, housing, food, ski storage, just some reminders about coaching throughout the event as well. So we'll go ahead and get started here with the slide deck. So once again, as always, as coaches, we want to make sure that I think some of you serve in multiple hats or wear multiple hats, but we do want to thank you guys as heads of the delegation for getting, sorry about that, that was my phone, getting all the athletes and teammates ready, getting them trained, and we also want to thank Whitetail for allowing us the opportunity to partner with them once again. Unfortunately, we were unable to have snowshoeing training there, but we were able to have Alpine on the second scheduled session there. So I know the lines were very short, so I know a lot of athletes and teammates and coaches were pretty wiped by lunchtime. So we hope you found that enjoyable and your coaches and competitors found that worthwhile. Okay, so not really key changes, but as a return to WISP, we're glad and excited to be back there for a second year in a row. Just some reminders that in previous years, you may have noticed where time trials were a separate event. Again, the same thing as last year, that is not a separate event. The time trials are part of the overall Winter Games event, and they'll be held on Sunday of the games. So it basically creates a 3-day Winter Games experience and event. So the Alpine time trials currently are scheduled to start at 1:30 on Sunday. There are some possibilities. The Alpine team, as of today, looking at all the registration numbers and everything, are looking at possibly tweaking that a little bit, possibly starting as early as 1 on Sunday. More detailed information will be given to the coaches at the upcoming Alpine webinar for that. And then the snowshoeing time trials will be starting approximately 2:15 on that Sunday. Again, if any updates or whatever will be communicated on Thursday evening with the snowshoe coaches. As far as check-in on Sunday, the heads of delegation can check in as early as 10 a.m., get lift tickets and some delegation information, etc., so that individuals can get out on the slopes a little before the time trials begin, get a little warm-up session, that kind of stuff. Just note that the hotel rooms will not be available when you check in. WISP will be working very hard and doing their due diligence to get the rooms ready as soon as possible. So we will just be checking back at the control center to get your room keys, but just be aware at 10 a.m. don't be asking for your room keys. We'll get those later in the afternoon and let you know when those are available. The opening ceremony will again be in the McHenry Lodge at the WISP Resort. That's the big A-frame lodge area where the awards for both events competitions will take place as well. The lift tickets will be available, and again, some details will be shared with the Alpine crew on Thursday evening. So we talked about the time trials on Monday and Tuesday. Those will be the finals for both Alpine and snowshoeing events. Again, looking at finalizing that schedule with the numbers and looking at some tweaks there. Alpine will start as early as 9:30 for some of their final events, and then snowshoeing possibly a little later in the day around noon or so. Again, that's being reviewed currently. The event guide has been posted on our coach's resource page for a while. And again, that gives a general overview of all the events, a lot more detail than here, but that can serve as a resource for you. We will not have printed versions of that, but it will be emailed out to delegation members no later than next Monday. So registrations, I'm going to turn this over to Mike Sarnowski. I know he's been in communication with some area directors and HODs regarding some of this upcoming information. So Mike.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. This should all be typical news for you, or not anything surprising, but we have a couple different registration rates depending upon who the person is and what they are getting. Your full registration, which is the overwhelming majority of the people in your delegation. Those are folks in your delegation who are staying on site. That's $195 per delegate. Includes your lodging, includes your meals. Well, let's put it this way: the meals that are being served. Some of your folks may want more meals than just that, and then also lifts, rentals, etc. If you're an Alpine person, there are some folks who are staying off site. The registration rate for that is $120. It does include all meals. It just does not include lodging. And then if there are folks, and there are some, where you have a person above the 3-to-1 ratio of athletes to a supervisory person, that rate's going to be 200. Actually, that's supposed to be 265. Steve, sorry, I didn't catch that. I'll make a note on that. That'll be 265 for those folks. You don't need to calculate that all out. We'll be sending, and actually we'll be charging your account, but we'll send you a listing of all that information post games. So as a reminder with that also, though, because we have obligations that we have to make and numbers we have to give to WISP, etc., the cutoff for any scratches for you not to be charged is Monday at noon. Monday the 19th. We had the 20th on the previous slide, and that's another typo. It's the 19th. So Monday at noon, need to email any additional scratches that you might have. Otherwise, you're going to be charged, or your area will be charged for that individual. And I think back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Mike. So here's, again, a basic general schedule overview. As we talked about, check-in and the control center, same place as last year. If you're walking into the lobby, it's down the hallway right to your left in the Barnes room. And then, like we said, snowshoeing practice may be available there. We'll be working with the volunteers to get them ready for the time trials and other event operational purposes. The time trials, as we talked about, currently scheduled for 1:30, may be bumped up to 1 o'clock, depending on county programs. And again, more information coming on Thursday evening. See the snowshoeing time trials. The dinner, most likely we'll do that in shifts. We'll notify you guys about that. And again, you'll see this later, but Sunday is very imperative to get in, get your food, get out, as we have a condensed area for dining for dinner on Sunday, leading into the opening ceremony and the changeover of that room. But again, we'll talk about that in a minute. Then the opening ceremony will go from 7:30 to 8:30 approximately there in the McHenry Lodge. We will have the coaches meetings following the opening ceremony, and then the head of delegation meeting in the tower portion of the hotel, which is right there in the main lobby. I take the elevator or stairs up to the second floor, and that'll be in the Pine Room. And again, that'll be a very brief meeting, just to indicate anything that is relevant for changes or updates leading into Monday and Tuesday.
Steve, Larry had a question on where do they send the scratches. Larry, there's a slide later that has that on there. You're going to email them to me and to the appropriate sport director. by then. So that way, because I'll deal with the registration stuff. I think Jane will either be on her flight to Vietnam and Cambodia, or at least packing then. So I'll cover that portion of it, and then and the registration, and your sport director will need to know for schedules.
Thank you, Mike. Then we'll go into Monday. Again, the breakfast, volunteer registration, distribution of competition schedules. That may be available earlier, but at the latest, that to get ready for the finals. Then you can see the rest of the information there as well. And we'll talk about the awards. They will both, for snowshoeing and alpine skiing, they will both be in the McHenry Lodge. Last year, they were kind of combined into one area. Even though we had two award platforms, they will be separated this year. The athlete leadership program, Jason Schrimmel will have a table in the McHenry Lodge with information regarding athlete leadership. And Monday night, the activity there will be the dance, which is themed Magic on the Mountain in honor of Harry Potter's 25th anniversary. And then as HODs, will be able to meet with me and Mike, Neil Coffey, and maybe a few others in the evening to close the day off and get ready for Tuesday. And Tuesday, kind of again, just the same basic schedule: breakfast, get ready for competition, have lunch, awards, and then have safe travels home. So again, as we talked about, specific details regarding the schedules of the two competition sports, regarding the events and times for all that will be shared in more detail this coming Thursday with the head coaches. So as we talked about, some time trial information, athletes and teammates have been put into the respective and appropriate time trial events based on the information that you or your designee from your county program entered into GMS. Athletes will have, or coaches, I should say, will have the opportunity to adjust some of those events based on the time trials. The coaches have that information, and we'll go over that in detail on Thursday. The main thing there is if there's any adjustments to a competitor in any event, they must have competed in that time trial event on Sunday in order to be eligible to make that switch for Monday and or Tuesday. And those changes must be submitted by the coach into the control center no later than 5:15 on Sunday. And we just can't have any wiggle room on that one. We have to get ready for the final divisions and get the schedules posted and everything input into our management system to get ready for Monday and Tuesday events.
And we'll go over with the coaches on Thursday how to add somebody to a time trial that they weren't originally registered for if you're looking to move them up or down in a level or whatever. So we'll go over all that then.
So again, here's the Alpine. You see tentative exclamation point in red and bolded down below, etc., underlined. Again, the Alpine crew is reviewing this as of today. Like I said, they may adjust it a little bit, moving everything up by a half hour. So just be aware of that. This is not finalized at all. It says tentative everywhere. But again, the finalized schedule will be shared with the coaches on Thursday. The main thing here for Alpine is we have had some questions in the past for the glide and super glide. For those two events, they will not be conducted for time trials on Sunday. Those will be on Monday, and then the finals for those two events will be on Tuesday. So this kind of gives you an overview of the tentative schedule for the time trials there on Sunday with snowshoeing, as we talked about, a little bit more detailed. But again, this is being reviewed currently, and any tweaks will be shared on Thursday evening with the snowshoeing coaches. Here's kind of the overview map of Western Maryland. Your highways, most people be coming in from the east, traveling up I-70 east, hitting 68 around Hancock, I believe. heading through Cumberland, and then almost on the border of West Virginia, heading down 219, right on down to the Wisp Resort. Then you can see down below, coming off of, I think that's 219 in yellow, coming down to the Wisp Resort. It is marked with signage along the road, coming through the city of Accident, coming down into Deep Creek and Wisp.
Hey, Steve, can you go back to the Alpine time trial list real fast, please? Lower Shore says they didn't see them on there. We just want to make sure they are on there and can see it.
Yeah, they're there at the 415.
Yep. There you go, Bob. Hopefully you can see that. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
Hey, one other note, Steve, you can share your almost incident with Accident, but you want to just give folks a little warning on the wonderful, beautiful town of Accident that has a little special traffic thing.
Yeah, I will. I knew I was watching my speed over the years going through that area. Please tell everybody, watch your speed coming off the highway all the way into Wisp, especially an Accident. It goes from, I think, 55 down to 40, then immediately to 25 miles an hour. They do monitor that very, very closely, and they will pull you. I got pulled over for a busted headlight, wasn't for speeding. So, but I think people who may want to or may appreciate that little heads up, watch your speed or you will get pulled. Here's an overview of my hesitation here is slopes, etc. for Alpine. But I can give you a general idea where the cursor you see, that's the hotel, the main lodge area. To where it's circling now, that's the main tower of the hotel. And then to the left of that is what they call the lodge. There are rooms in both sections of Wisp Resort. And where the cursor is now is also where the McHenry Lodge is. That's where the opening ceremony, awards for both sports, and the meals will be served, as well as the dance. You can see right to the left of that is where the snowshoeing competition is scheduled to occur. Same place as last year. We have added an additional tent for staging. That will be out on that general area. And again, you will see the slopes for Alpine. We had a site visit this past Sunday. As you can imagine, there are some challenges with the weather. The Alpine crew, one of which is a ski patrol individual that works at Wisp, is working diligently with the mountain ops area and the rest of the Alpine crew to determine what slopes will be available and ready for Alpine competitors. So again, this isn't finalized. They are working on it. Those of you who are involved with that, last year we made some changes almost on a daily basis. Well, at least on the daily basis. And again, we will notify coaches in the morning, in the evenings, leading up to any situations that arise. But I have full faith in our Alpine crew and Wisp that they will do everything under their power to make the appropriate changes for the skill level so that we have all of the events occur as much as possible.
And Steve, just to kind of reiterate that, I mean, that really is premature to expect any conditions and make any decisions this time. So all of those decisions that the Alpine team makes will be communicated to the coaches at coaches meetings, and we'll make sure to get that information out to everyone effectively. And as Steve said, the locations of these events could change on a daily basis based upon conditions. So and we remember last year and we got through everything, but terrain was disappearing pretty quickly, and it's understandable. So just, if you can, prepare your coaches for that, prepare your families for that, so there's no surprises of, what do you mean you said you were going to be here? This is very preliminary and is subject to change based upon conditions, and based upon those conditions we will do our best to the terrain will be appropriate for the events. We'll do our best to select locations where observers and spectators can come watch, but that may also not always be the case. We'll do our best based upon the conditions that we have. So if you can please spread that word now so that there's not any surprise or disappointment or frustration when we get out for the games, that's really important.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. Here's just a more close-up overview, if you will. What's being circled now, that is the tower portion of the hotel. That is on the second floor where the HOD meetings will occur and where most people will be housed, although there are in the inn or lodge portion of the hotel also housing located in that portion of the resort. And then as we go to the right on the screen, you'll see the McHenry Lodge. That's the big A-frame window looking up to the mountain. And that's where the meals will be served, the opening ceremony, the dance, and awards for both sports will take place. As you say that, there is a few parking points right here in the middle of the screen. Primarily, those are the handicap spots. But there is a lot of parking around, so just park appropriately. I know we were up there on Sunday and it wasn't very crowded, but there were people parking in undesignated areas and they were having issues with that. So as on a slide we mentioned later, please park in designated spots only.
Steve, we did have a question about the possibility of moving snowshoeing to the place it was supposed to be last year, or are we going to keep it where it currently is?
At this time, it's where it was last year, and that's the plan moving forward.
Yeah, the place where it was supposed to be is over towards the golf course. The likelihood of sufficient snow coverage there is are slim and none, and Slim's just leaving town right now, so it's highly unlikely. I did want to point out that from the McHenry Lodge, there's a walkway out. There's a very nice patio here that you can see most of snowshoeing, and you can walk right out here to down these stairs. These are broad stairs to the snowshoeing area over here.
So our lovely head of delegation or HOD meetings, ending each evening on Sunday and Monday evening. Again, it's a very short meeting. We really do ask you to be on time for those. It's a very quick meeting, but we do think it's important to meet so that you as heads of delegation can address any issues or challenges you're having, and us as management team can also share any updates. But it's a time for us to get together as leaders of the event to just share any ideas, issues, or whatever so that they can be addressed if need be overnight and moving in forward to next year, etc. So again, those are in the Pine Room of the tower portion of the hotel. Take the main elevator right from the main lobby up to the second floor, and it's right outside when you exit the elevator. Again, they'll be very brief, and please don't have at times, if you need one or two people from your delegation, that's okay if need be. We really want to limit that to one person per area county program. I think they're seating in there for about 15 to 18 people. So it's a pretty tight group, and we kind of want to keep that limited if at all possible. We appreciate your support with that. Hey, registration. Mike, do you want to take this one as well?
Sure. A fair amount of this is repeat. So turn back on my camera. So it'll take place in the control center. Again, those of you who were there with us last year, it's the same place. It's the Barnes Room. If you come into the hotel lobby and go down the short hallway that's opposite the check-in desk, the Barnes Room is the first door on the left, not counting their shop that they've got going on. That's going to be open starting at 10 o'clock. You do not need to be there at 10 o'clock. However, if you wish to get there at 10 o'clock because you want to get out on the slopes or you want to have your folks get some snowshoeing going, you can come in at 10 o'clock. There will be, each county will get at least 2, possibly 3 packets. One's going to be for your overall delegation, HOD, those credentials and so on. And then for each of the sports where you have folks, you'll have a packet there. It'll be bib numbers. If you have lift rentals, it'll have whatever we need for those. Anything you need for time trials. We'll also point out, again, we'll have the bib numbers. Last year, as you may know, or you may not know, finding the over-the-shoulder bibs that we've used in previous years has proven impossible, quite frankly. We can find much more expensive ones that are going for like $15 a piece, which at the moment are outside our price range. But anyhow, last year, they basically don't make the over-the-head Tyvek bibs anymore, apparently. But last year we had smocks that were available for folks, and you could pin them on there, or you can pin them right on your jackets. You don't have to use the smock, but we know some folks are reluctant to put pins into their winter coats. So we'll have those available to you. Just use them as you see fit. And we do not want them back. They're very lightweight and they're relatively inexpensive. So just use them, and then use them for your next art project if you want. Let's see. That's also a point where you can report any additional scratches that you might have. Know that, at that point, it'll be after the deadline. Your area will still get charged for those scratches, but just let us know with that. And then, as was noted previously, in terms of submitting scratches in advance by that noon on February the 19th, that noon Monday deadline, send them to me and the appropriate sport director, either Casey for snowshoeing or Elizabeth for alpine skiing. And that way that goes to, you can just send a single email. If you have scratches on both, send a single email to all three of us. And we'll take care of it from there. Okay. My page down key does not want to advance pictures. We already talked a bit about the costs, and I don't think we need to go into this anymore. That's all just kind of a repeat on that. And then for the check-in process, HODs, please come to the control center, stop into the control center each morning by or around 8 o'clock on Monday and Tuesday. There is usually updates of some type. As Steve had noted as well, we strive to get the schedules done and the bib labels and your Bucci reports. Bucci report is a time sequence competition report that lists where everybody in your delegation or within your sport needs to be for each of their events. We try to get those done Sunday night so that you can get them then. And if we get them done at a reasonable hour, we'll send a text out to folks so you can come down and pick them up. But that doesn't always happen. So please do plan to pop by. I know those of you that are in the tower, it's pretty simple. Just when you get off the elevator, stop in. For other folks in the lodge or in the inn, just a little bit of a walk, but please do that. And then repeating or reiterating Steve's comment about parking and obeying the signs. We will not be covering the cost of any parking tickets or any towing or any other associated costs. And I don't know whether you want this, Steve, or you want to hand this off to Jane.
Yeah, I'll let Jane go. And if she doesn't want to, I'll take it. But one of the things I did want to mention, Jane will not be there at Winter Games. So picking up keys and that type of thing, and each morning checking in the control center will be Melissa Anger. I think most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with Anger, with all the roles she has played over the years, as well as Debbie Credito, also another familiar face from our management team. So with that being said, Jane, do you want to hit on some of these bullet points, or do you want me to take it?
Oh, Steve, you know how much I want to do this.
Go for it.
First of all, I would like to thank all of the HODs or their designated individuals who got me their lists in a really good, timely manner and got me their changes. I was able to get, I believe, everybody accommodated, and there are a couple of things that are going to be different than last year. So as you know, when you pick up your keys, you normally get a locker key, which goes with each room. Now the locker keys, you would have no idea what room they went to because it's a special code. So you need a cheat sheet to know. So, and the keys tend to fall out of the key packets. So this year we're going to ask you, when you pick up your keys, you will get all of your room keys. But if you need locker keys, not everybody will need a locker key. If you do need locker keys, you need to go to the front desk with your room key and just tell them which rooms you would like to get locker keys for, and they will accommodate you as soon as possible. I do think that may even speed up the check-in process a little bit, because the people at the front desk need to not only program the room keys, but also make sure that the locker keys are in each envelope. So I hope that will work. And if it doesn't, we'll try something new next year. So with that said, we're hoping, and maybe Steve, you can confirm, since I wasn't there this past weekend, will we be able to use Crawford for luggage storage this year?
Seems to be the plan right now, yeah.
Okay, I will have a call tomorrow with Lisa and Larissa, and if there's a no change, I will let people know definitely. But if you do come for time trials and things like that, you will have a place to store your luggage. We will attempt to get you a room as part of your delegation for athletes that may need to change, but there's no guarantee. The check out at WISP, I believe, is 11 a.m. And so people don't have to get out of their rooms before then. They're encouraged to do so. They get a note asking them to please check out as early as possible. And they did a good job last year, but there were some very last minute checkouts last year, and some people didn't get keys until after 4 o'clock. And as Steve mentioned, the pickup will be in the Birch room. And both Deb Credito and Melissa Angra will be handling that. Please only send one person, either yourself or a designated individual, but do not have people coming in asking for a key for an individual room. There's just not enough room in there, and it's too chaotic. So we will try to get your keys as a group and provide everything at once, but there may be some outliers, which you may need to come back for, like last year.
Jane, just
Yes.
it's the Barnes room. Birch
Is it
room is
Barnes?
the.
I knew it began with a B.
That's right. So
Okay, don't listen to me. It's in the control center. So if you can find the control center, you'll find your room keys. As far as checkout, as in the past, you should drop everything off at the front desk as early as possible. But I see I've got a question about what time we can pick up the room keys. Who knows? Legitimately, the hotel does not have to provide you your keys before 4 o'clock. Obviously, they get them to us as early as they get the rooms available. So we will try to let people know. I just want to make sure that all the HOD or anybody that's going to be picking up the keys, if you can provide your cell phone information when you pick up your registration packets, that way we can have somebody text you when we have your delegation's keys available. Steve, do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that'll work well.
Okay. And then as far as returning your keys, it's all done at the front desk of the hotel. No keys should be brought to the control center, wherever that may be. If you want to, like in the past, you've held a room or two for last minute changing, etc. Please let the control center know by noon on Monday if you want to hold any rooms for a late checkout, say 2:30 max. Otherwise, luggage can be stored again in the Crawford room, or in individuals' vehicles. So that's about it. As Mike mentioned, I'm going to be in Vietnam, so I will not be available and it's a 12-hour time difference. So please don't call me. Because I won't answer my phone.
She doesn't answer it during regular hours either.
That
here
is
in the
also
States.
true.
But
Hey,
yeah,
a couple quick things just to point out. So actually this last bullet said with this, Jane, it sounds like you already got that worked out. So this is all about the locker keys and so on.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
is all set then. You'll pick them up there. Also the information that was just covered regarding the checkout and such, we will go over that and give reminders at the HOD meetings on site. So don't worry
Okay.
if you didn't get all that down. And last but not least, please, this was a rather inventive idea, but please don't do it. A couple areas or delegations last year apparently didn't want to use the Crawford room to leave their suitcases, piled them all onto hotel carts, and then kept them in the McHenry Lodge with their delegation on hotel carts. Nice idea, very convenient for you, but it also takes all those carts out of commission for everybody else. So don't want to put it this way, but I will. It's pretty inconsiderate when you think about it. I'm sure it wasn't top of people's minds. So please don't do that. Like I say, you're hurting everybody else. There are a good number of carts, but there aren't enough for you to go and have one sequestered for the entire day. Okay, thanks.
Yep, and two other quick points here. There'll be a slide in a few minutes about emergency phone numbers overnight with Mike Sarnowski and my cell number. We will let you guys know. I think the medical rooms have been assigned. Just want to get that
Actually,
ready.
I have them.
Okay.
Let's see, medical, if you are in, the lodge, it's room, 205, Wayne Lewis. And for those in the tower, Norma Bard will be in room 326.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you for that.
Steve,
well,
can I make a comment real fast?
yeah.
So, hi everyone, it's Melissa Anger. So as Jane and everyone has mentioned, I will be assisting with check-in and room keys and stuff. As per Jane's email that she sent out, if you can email me ahead of time and I can have all the phone numbers of who's going to be picking up the keys, I can text you when they're ready. So if you want to get me those phone numbers ahead of time, that would make everything go a little faster on our end.
Those of you who may not have Melissa's email address, Anger, if you want to put that in the chat, but it's M for Melissa, her last name ANGER at SOMD.org.
We'll send a note out and remind folks of this of that. Because we'll want to be capturing that, and also for your head coaches. So we'll do all that with following the sessions on Thursday.
Yep. And one other point, just to make sure that everyone's aware, if it is a major emergency and it's not just, hey, I need a Band-Aid or whatever, don't hesitate to use your cell phone and call 911. Please note that there are no phones in the hotel. So it's really reliant on making sure that you have your cell phones charged throughout the day and overnight, etc. And a reminder that due to us taking over the entire hotel and lodge for housing, housekeeping will not be coming on a daily basis. If there are issues, you can come to the front desk and ask for additional towels, but please let your team and coaches and everybody know, hey, if you're okay reusing a towel, make sure you hang it up. Don't expect your beds to be changed and made each evening, etc.
And then one last thing on medical, because I don't think it's on a later slide. Remember that the medical folks that we provide are for inside the hotel, in the building and such. Anything that occurs on the snow will be handled by ski patrol. Now, our folks will be around there as well to assist, particularly in the snowshoeing area. But anything that happens on the snow is a ski patrol situation. So don't be worried about that. We'll go over that in the coaches sessions too.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Jane. Overnight emergencies, again, this is what we were talking about earlier. You have both Mike Sarnowski and my cell number listed here. We provided you with the room numbers, but again, we'll send that out and also let you know about that when you pick up your packets as a reminder. But as we have had in the past, please be respectful that it is true emergency. It's not, hey, what time does this start tomorrow? Or, hey, I need more towels, or I ran out of soap. That's not a reason to call Mike or myself. But we appreciate your support and patience with that. Food services. The meals that will be provided start on Sunday evening with dinner. Lunch on Sunday is not provided for as far as a meal for the games. So everyone looking for lunch on Sunday is on their own. For all other meals starting Sunday night, leading into lunch on Tuesday, those are for delegation members who have their credential on. You must have your credential to get through the line to be provided a meal. We talked about the meal shifts, more information to come on that for Sunday evening. The dance, as we talked about, again, some changeover from the dinner on Monday to set up and make some room for the dance. Anybody who's available to help move chairs, we would welcome the assistance there. But as with any of the meals, please be respectful and don't commandeer a table for an extended amount of time. There is limited space in the McHenry Lodge. So get your meal, get seated, eat, clean your table, and make it available for the next people coming in. If we see people just hanging out, we may come through and ask them to please vacate the table so that others can partake in the meals. Again, family members are not served meals, not part of the meal packages for winter games. They are more than welcome to visit local restaurants and establishments in the area. There are several options within the Wisp Resort itself. And family members can eat with the delegation members for lunch. But for their breakfast and dinners, that's going to be reserved for delegation members only. So again, making that allowance for family members to eat lunch with the delegations is going to be even more imperative that we relay that information to eat, clean up, and get out of the table for others. We just don't want to have that inconvenience for any of our delegation members and others at the event.
Yeah, and just to be totally clear, we are not saying that family members can go through and get the lunch that the delegation members are getting. They can go through, they will not be served there. They are credentialed, they aren't members of delegations. There is a public line that serves, it's burgers, dogs, that type of thing. I think even pizza and such. They can go through that at their own expense, but then they can come and sit with the delegation or with their athletes if they wish to for lunch. But do not construe anything that Steve said to imply that they can go through the lunch line that we have for our delegation members.
Thank you, Mike. Next up, as we talked about with rental forms, there is a waiver that Elizabeth Kramer will send out to the Alpine coaches no later than this Friday. We have received that as of today from WISP. Very important that there is a signature required if the athletes or teammates are not of age or not their own legal guardian. There is a signature for legal guardians. So it's very important that those coaches are on top of that leading into next week. And again, the skis, as Jane was saying, those who need storage for skis and boots, we want those to be utilized in the lockers. You can pick those up at the front desk. We don't want skis and boots being hauled through the hotel, through the elevators, and stored in the rooms. We want those to go to the locker. Okay. And again, as a reminder, it is helpful to label skis and stuff if their coaches haven't already done so for each of their athletes, so there's no confusion, etc. Just some reminders here with the opening ceremony. Again, we talked about that. That's going to be on Sunday, 7:30 to 8:30. give or take a few minutes here and there. In the McHenry Lodge, those county or area programs who will have representation in the parade, bringing in the banners. We'll talk about that on the next slide. We need those individuals to report no later than 7 on Sunday leading into the opening ceremony in the Whispers room, which is kind of, if you're looking out at the A-frame, looking up towards the mountain, it's in the back portion of the McHenry Lodge. If you were there last year, it's the same place, and it's the same place where the quieter room during the dance was available. And if you have any questions, we can show you that. Or give you a map and show you where that when you check in at the control center. The names of those representatives for the banners to carry in during the opening ceremony was due yesterday. I did receive several of those. The next slide will show you that. If we do not have those, the delegation will not have individuals carrying in the banners, but they will be announced in the script as far as this given county program represented by these many athletes is here, blah, 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 but they won't have the banners being brought in. So the next slide, I think, is where I show who has reported those. So the ones listed here are the ones who submitted banner carriers. So we have them from Anne Arundel, Cecil, Charles, Hartford, Howard, Montgomery, and Washington programs. There were also several county programs within those who submitted nominations for the coach's oath, athlete's oath, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the torch. For those, you will be communicated no later than when you check in on Sunday, if any of those individuals were selected. But we would also want those individuals to report to the Whispers room so that they get briefed for the opening ceremony by 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. on Sunday. So at this time, if you see your delegation or county program not listed above or on this slide, you're not included in the opening ceremony. You missed the deadline for those banner carriers. If you have my email and my phone number, you can call me and we can talk. But at this time, that's the way we're moving forward. The athlete social, like we talked about in McHenry Lodge on Monday evening. Magic on the Mountain we talked about. The award ceremonies will take place in the McHenry Lodge. Alpine skiing awards will be approximately in the same location it was last year. Snowshoeing will be on the adjacent wall coming out from the fireplace, so that there will be a little bit of a separation, if you will, from those announcing each of those awards simultaneously. It's something new we're trying this year. I think last year we saw a little bit of condensed, and it got a little crazy and hectic, having awards staging for both sports in one location. So we are separating those out this year. But again, both will be designated in the McHenry Lodge on opposite walls within the inside space. One note, we had 1 or 2 questions leading into this year, and even at our site visit. The swimming pool is off limits and will not be open or available for anyone associated with Special Olympics. There are no lifeguards on duty, and it's liability and safety issue. We want to make sure that there's no violations of that. So just make sure everyone knows no swimming during the Winter Games. Talked about the 2 separate awards areas. We do ask that you work with your coaches and other support personnel from your delegation to have a representative to receive the athletes and teammates after they get their awards and exit to the next phase of the event, whether it's getting them out to their next event, getting lunch, getting rest, or whatever. So we just look for your cooperation to meet the competitors after their awards have been received and gather and move on to the next phase. We do ask, this is because of the fact that it's in the McHenry Lodge where family members and spectators are, we did see some challenge, or we had some challenges last year with family members and coaches and others coming into the staging area for awards. We can't have that. It creates a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion and backs up from a timing perspective the awards. So please stay out of the staging area unless there is a significant issue that you need to let them know, or if you are called to the staging area to assist with the situation. Okay. The posting, and please relay that to your family members. I know a lot of times people try to be helpful or think they're being helpful. Let me take your boots, or let me take your shoes, or let me take your hat, or let me take your jacket. It really creates chaos back there and confusion. So the less people are there, the quicker that process will occur and the smoother it will take place. The posting of results, we're still working out a few details on that due to the change in the 2 separate awards locations. But the posting of the results will be made available for both sports within the McHenry Lodge. As possible, and depending on how things go, Mike Sarnowski and others have done a very good job at previous events to post the results as soon as available to the coach's resource page. So be on the lookout for that. We will try to get them posted on the coach's resource page as soon as possible, but we're not going to promise that happens on a daily basis, but we're hopeful that that will occur.
Hey, one other thing on awards, and those of you who have been with us for a while know this, but for those for this is new, there may be a situation where an athlete or a competitor has to come to get their award, but they have their next competition. If they have 2 competitions on the same day, the standard is go to the competition. The folks at the awards area will hold on to their awards, and when the athlete or the athlete partner team come for their next award, they'll present the award that they missed with all the pomp and circumstance that's necessary or that's appropriate there. So it's most important that they get to their competitions. And I realize that can be a little tricky with Alpine, particularly because of how long it takes to get to the lift. And then you got to go from the top of the lift to wherever the start is and so on. So estimating that out can be a bit of a challenge. We try to spread stuff out as much as we can so those conflicts are minimized, but we do realize that it could happen. And so just, again, competition takes precedence over awards.
And Mike, on the Alpine competition, that becomes a little bit more of an issue for the events where unified immediately follows traditional competition, because sometimes you have the same athletes in traditional and then in unified, and just make sure that those athletes and their partners know the awards will be given, but when they're finished all competitions. And you're
We'll go
absolutely
over
right.
this.
Exactly. No one will be missed on the from going up on the award stand and being presented in front of everyone. We make sure that all the medals are handed out appropriately, but we don't want to, we need to make sure that the competition continues to go.
And we'll, of course, go over this with the coaches later this week.
And these next couple of slides, you can have this as HODs for reference, but just know that for Alpine, there's the coaches and possibly sometimes the unified teammates will serve as escorts to get them up to their starting gates. When they're allowed to coach is when they're in between the events or on the lifts, but not once they get into the start gate, etc. The main thing here, as always, is make sure that your family members and other spectators, other members of your delegation know that coaching is prohibited once they're on the race course or in the starting gate. We have officials on the course that'll be monitoring that. The last thing we want to do is have an athlete or teammate disqualified because someone was coaching them on the course and gave them an unfair advantage. So as we always talk about, hey, encouragement is always good. Keep going, Steve. You got it, Steve. You got this. Get up, Steve. Go, go, go. not turn your skis left, put your pole down. And then there's also the thing that we found with kayaking and skiing, the cadence of certain call outs or whatever. If they see a rhythm of someone saying, go, and every time the person says go, they put their pole down or turn left, go, they put their pole down and turn right, turn left. That is a form of coaching as well. So we will be monitoring that. Again, please let your families and others know. Don't coach, encourage, tell them to keep going. Do your best, do your best. Those type of things are more than appropriate and encouraged, but we definitely need your assistance to get that word out.
Yeah, and folks, it sometimes seems like we're like overly focused on rules and this type of thing. The whole purpose behind this, and also our standard application of rules, is we want the results of each competition to reflect the athlete and or the athlete and partner, their performance, not how well did your coach yell to make them go through a certain gate or whatever the case may be. It really needs to reflect how they do. That's the fairest thing for all of our athletes and all of our unified teams or duos and such. So like I say, I know it can come off as we're just rule driven and cracking the whip. It's all about being fair to all the athletes.
Thank you for that reiteration, Mike. Again, we talked about the meals. No reason to go over this again. It's basically credentialed delegation members will go through the line starting for dinner on Sunday. Otherwise, families are on their own, etc. So don't want to continue that. We think we hit that enough.
Just one other thing, Steve. Thank you to everybody that I think that this year we really do have a good handle on who needs special meals. All you need to do is when you get to the line and you are anticipating a special meal, be it gluten-free, a certain vegetarian meal that you cannot get on the line, just let somebody on the catering staff know. They have a list of all of the people who have requested special meals, their name and their delegation.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Jane. For snowshoeing, as well as for alpine, there is limited space based on the course and that kind of thing. As Mike mentioned, there's a good vantage point from the patio, if you will, from the McHenry Lodge portion of the resort, and maybe some other areas around the course, but those will be coordinated off and labeled, if you will. Family members and spectators are more than welcome to bring their own, like camping chairs, folding chairs, although there will be some limited chairs available in the patio, etc. But you can pretty much get a good view from the snowshoeing area. Alpine, again, depending on the courses and the slopes, may be more of a challenge. So just be prepared for that.
Actually, one note that reminded me we should add this for the spectating thing on Monday, with the athlete families one on Monday. If you have folks who are going to watch, which is great, remind them to dress appropriately, and that includes appropriate footwear. We see folks slip around, particularly around the snowshoeing area. It's usually a family member or a spectator or a staff member, such as myself, and like I went out there with just my tennis shoes on. As opposed to beats. That's right, Rachel. Give me that shaking of your head, because you're right. It was stupid of me to do that. But seriously, the folks who fall are the ones who aren't dressed appropriately.
Hi, baby.
And right, nice segue, Mike. Hydration and attire. Again, we're working with WISP on a daily basis with any updates, as we also have done leading into the training sessions on snow with whitetail. Really make sure that spectators, all delegation members, etc., have appropriate attire for warm weather, cold weather, rainy weather, windy weather, etc. And we know it's easier to think about hydration in the summer and hot months, but it's as important in the cool months. And when it's cold, you don't think, well, I'm overheated and I need some water. But make sure that everyone's taking care of each other, reminding each other to, when's the last time you had water? Let's get you some water, etc. And again, starting off the days, it's better to have layers and you can take those off rather than I need another jacket, I need to somebody go to my room, etc. So layer up and then you can take those layers off as needed throughout the day if the position or the situation presents itself. Medical, as we talked about earlier, ski patrol will be on the hills, and we have our medical people inside the McHenry Lodge and others. And again, you have the room numbers for 205 in the lodge for overnight medical, and 326 in the tower part of the hotel. And then you have my number and Mike Sarnowski's cell number as well for emergencies, which will also be shared with you at the HOD meetings, etc.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, medical has radios. If you, any one of, not ski patrol necessarily, but anybody from Special Olympics who has, or the management team or staff or whatever has a radio can contact medical if need be. As a reminder as well, we started implementing this in the fall, and we'll go over this again at the HOD meeting on site. We have a coded medical status. And I don't remember which one it starts with. I think code 1 is it's life-threatening. Code 2 is it's important, but not quite life-threatening. Somebody's injured, might be a broken bone or something like that. And then code 3 are for things that are less pressing, still important. Otherwise, we wouldn't be calling medical, but a scrape, a scratch, needs a Band-Aid, whatever. And that's so that we can be sure that we have the medical personnel at the getting to those things that are most critical in a timely manner.
So here's a list of the upcoming webinars. As we've mentioned throughout the this webinar, we have our coaches webinars this Thursday, starting with Alpine at 6 and then snowshoeing at 7. You can see the links there, as well as our family and athlete webinar next Monday. And the link for that one will start at 6:30.
And the invitations for that one, now that we have the deadline was yesterday to get any scratches in that we knew of at that point, and all their competition in, we'll be sending an invitation out by tomorrow to everybody who's a registered delegation member to join us for the athlete family webinar. And thank you to those who already shared that link with your family members, because we already have, I think, 15 or so people signed up. So great.
That coming to the close of tonight's session, as always, we want, we request your feedback as leaders of your area program, as well as feedback from your athletes, coaches, other delegation members, family members, etc. We take a look at those. We take those seriously. Here's the link for that. Again, we'll share this once or twice after the event has occurred. We want all feedback. What you liked about the event and you wanted to keep that going. Anything where you think there's ways to improve. And if you think there's something that needs to be improved, what are your ideas about what that improvement could be? But again, share that with everyone. The more feedback we have, the better we can be together collectively to make the next Winter Games and all other events that we do together better. Here's a link for the coaches resource page. Hopefully this isn't news to anyone, but a lot of information is there. It's open to the public. It's designed for people like yourselves, heads of delegation, coaches, but it's also open for families, athletes, spectators. There's no code, no nothing. Open to the public. A lot of information is available there. As always, on a leading end of the note, please ask everyone to make sure they respect the facility, they clean up after themselves, and We also want to thank the volunteers who come out to support our event from the local community and other outreach there. Make sure you have your coaches and athletes and delegation members, families, everybody, thank them. As you guys well know, a lot of you guys have local events that you host, whether it's fundraising or whatever, qualifiers, etc. A lot of times the volunteers really just want to feel appreciated. And a simple thank you goes a really long way. So we appreciate you with that. And also for the WISP staff. They've been working hard. They've been on all of our management team meetings for the past 6 or 7 months, working up to leading into this Winter Games. So make sure you thank the WISP staff as well. Here's some general contact information, most of which was shared once or twice throughout the event or throughout the webinar. There's my contact information as general questions and overall operations for the games. And then Alpine Skiing Sports Director Elizabeth Kramer, who all the coaches have, as well as Casey Collins with snowshoeing. All the coaches have his as well. And then we will make sure you have Melissa Angers leading into the event, who will be overseeing the control center with Debbie Credita. With that, I have not been able to check questions. Anger, I don't know if there's anything that's come through at this time.
No, the only one is talking about the food lines and letting everyone know that they can only go through once.
Yeah.
But I would say that leans more on the coaches and leadership to make sure their athletes only go through once, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's the credential and it's kind of the honor system. If we do see people take advantage of that, what we don't want to do is have to go back to individual tickets. But as we always say, coaches and others from your delegation and leadership roles, yeah, it's one time through the line. And also, I think WISP did a pretty good job last year of portion control as they were helping serve the meals. But just keep an eye on that as well.
Oh, I can also say we're not going to go into what all the meals are and such, but we do know that last year the taco evening, while the food was good, the process of distributing and getting people through the line was slower than would be ideal. And we've worked with WISP. Jane has worked with WISP and has worked out a solution that should address that issue. Because we are one of the dinners will be a taco night, so. That seem to be people seem to really like the food, just not the line.
Yeah. Again, no other questions that we're seeing at this time, but I do want to recognize each and every one of you as leaders of your delegation for Winter Games. We work together to make it a great event. We're here to support you. You're there to support your team, and collectively we'll have a great Winter Games. I do want to acknowledge our games director, Neil Coffey, who you heard several times throughout the webinar this evening, as well as Jane Dunn, and other members of our games management team who weren't able to join us tonight, but know that there is a group of about 30 to 40 collectively, if not more, who have been working tirelessly over the last several months, meetings and planning sessions, etc. So on behalf of everyone in our state office, we thank you for all of your efforts. I know many of you wear multiple hats throughout the year, so thank you for not only what you're doing for Winter Games, but also what you do on a daily basis, whether you're a coach, a family member, a management team member for your county program, etc. But thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Mike, any closing remarks you'd like to make, and then we'll hand it to you.
Excuse me, a repeat of the thank you. And then also just a reminder, if your delegation was not listed as having been set for the banner holders or banner carriers in the parade, and you think that's something's not right with that, reach out to Steve right away at sbennett@somd.org. I think Steve, you'll be answering emails up till midnight, 1 o'clock. Is that right? So
no comment. Sometimes
okay.
Yes. Hopefully
Okay.
not tonight because we
That's
are
all
early
phone
morning
calls,
tomorrow.
Mike, not emails, phone calls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll give you his phone number with that. So, but thank you very much. We're looking forward to seeing everybody in just under 2 weeks. So, yeah.
And Neil, as our games director for the management team, anything will give you the closing remarks?
I'll just reiterate what Mike said. We appreciate everyone's patience with us. This is a big group effort, and we do our best with the conditions and the terrain and the equipment and the personnel that we have. And just know that our focus is making sure that everyone in attendance has an excellent experience, great competition from the athlete's perspective, as best we can for the families from a spectators and observer perspective, and we do the best we can, and we appreciate all of your support in working with us to make us successful. So thank you.
That Mike can stop the recording, and again, we'll send out the slide.